Hey, Nope Coach listeners, it's Suzanne Kohlberg. Welcome to episode 41, Smashing the Personal Glass Ceilings with the amazing Laura Gates Lupton. So I'm going to actually, before I hand over to Laura, just with that title alone, as you're listening, what do you think we're going to be talking about? Because a lot of people talk about smashing glass ceilings, and I think a lot of us have a connotation associated with that. And whenever I hear a topic or I'm scrolling through podcast listings myself, I'm like, what is that going to be? Because I did a recent episode on like collecting evidence, and I thought better start with this has got nothing to do with forensics, people. So smashing glass ceilings, or personal glass ceilings, what do you think we're going to be talking about? And as you ponder that, I will hand over to Laura.
Hey, Suzanne, it's great to be here today.
Thank you for coming. I've been excited for this call.
Yeah, I'm really excited to get to talk to you. I love talking about personal glass ceilings, and almost everyone has one, at least the women that I work with anyway. And that is a certain amount of money that you earn, within a very tiny range year after year, no matter what you do differently. That's the glass ceiling.
And why do you think that is?
I think we get comfortable in I think of it like a thermostat. It's like you're comfortable with your house set at a certain heat. And if it gets too hot, you want to crank that thermostat down, or if it gets too cold, you want to crank it up. I feel that's the same thing with money, that if you happen to break out one month and earn a lot more, chances are the next month you won't, because you're going to bring it back down to the place that you're comfortable at.
I love the description of it as a thermostat. I did a recent episode with Linda James, and she spoke about, I think it was only a couple of episodes ago, expanding capacity to receive. She spoke about a similar thing, but like an auric field. And I was like, ooh, but some people won't resonate that with a thermostat. And as you said, like, and that makes me think of my science hat comes out. For those of you listening who don't know, I did a medical science degree. I was going to be a doctor many years ago, and learning about homeostasis and how we, have our body reaches a certain point, and then how our body actively works to maintain that. And when you think about it, if you've got an income homeostasis and then you do have a tear of a month, because how many of us have a hot month and the next month's our worst one ever? Or you have a really good month, but then suddenly everything starts breaking down. So
Yep.
you suddenly need to repair your washing machine or your fridge or your vacuum cleaner, or your VA quits, or I don't know, internet, your website gets hacked, your whatever. And then it's like, oh, where did that go? You're very appreciative to have it, but also like, oh, just when I was getting ahead.
Exactly. That's exactly it. Yeah. And I think it's related actually to what you're talking about with the science, because it's related in part to our nervous systems. It's like what's comfortable, what we can handle, like to our brains, it signals, oh my gosh, we're in a danger zone. This is new. It's unfamiliar. I don't like it. And so we do things not purposely to get back to that level where it's like, okay, this is home. This feels familiar. I know this place. And that can be true even if that place is something really that most of us would see as uncomfortable, like not having enough money at the end of the month, for example. If that's your normal, that's what feels comfortable, even if you don't like it.
And the other thing it makes me think about is like lotto winners, like people who receive a large amount of money, and they've actually done studies and shown that after 2 to 5 years, most of them are financially worse off than before their windfall. So their like homeostasis, their thermostat's like, mayday.
Yeah, it's a perfect example. A small portion of the people I work with are people who have inherited money recently or are about to, because they come to me knowing that I've got to get a handle on this or I'm going to lose this money, for exactly the reason you just talked about with lottery winners.
So obviously you're the person to come and see for this. But if people are like, okay, I just want to, we're human. We're like, I'm just going to try this on my own first.
Mm-hmm.
What are some steps or some things you'd recommend for people who are like becoming aware that, hey, I tend to do this when I have a boom, I have a corresponding bust, and I want to break out of this pattern. And I've come to realize that more money isn't going to fix it.
Right. The first thing I recommend is looking for signals in your body that you're uncomfortable. Are you feeling irritated? Are you feeling upset? Is there something like physically, like are you uncomfortable physically? And pay attention to that, because that's your nervous system telling you like there's a problem here. And then working with that. And usually physical movement will do it. It's the kind of thing like get up and dance, or, spend some time journaling and then dance it out, like move your body, get comfortable. And when you start to feel better, that's when you can work on the goals. And I don't recommend setting wildly huge goals, more than you've ever made before. Do it incrementally. But make sure you're tapping into your body. That's okay. Just make sure you're tapping into your body along the way. It's not a one and done thing.
I love the advice to tap into your body, because our body holds so much wisdom, but because of associated guilt or shame, like say you are having a ripper time and everything's going well, but your body is signaling like danger, Will Robinson, and you're like, well, I shouldn't feel like this. So you tend to ignore it and shove it down. Yeah. And it's like, I think that is where so much self-sabotage comes from. We think when this starts to happen, then I'll feel this. And when this starts to happen, we don't feel that. We don't allow ourselves to feel what it is that we actually feel, because it feels wrong, or there's guilt or shame. Like, this is what I worked so hard for. This is what I wanted. And not allowing the nervous system to recalibrate or to stretch, like you talk about a thermostat, to adjust to a new setting. Yep. And that's why I think a lot of the self-sabotage comes, because we're not allowing that feeling. And it sounds so simple, but it's not necessarily easy.
Right, exactly. It's not easy, and it's uncomfortable. And I love what you said there too, because so much of it is about like what we think we're supposed to do, what we're supposed to feel. But really, the fear of success, in my experience, is much stronger and greater than the fear of failure.
Oh, we can do a whole episode on that, because I think that is that is so true. Most of us think that we're afraid of failure, but we're very familiar with failure.
Exactly.
It's success that's scary. So in terms of glass ceilings, recognize it, allow it in your body, even if it's uncomfortable. And I love how you then pair that with movement, because I think, bearing the discomfort, sitting with the discomfort, it's not familiar. And also, I think movement, at least for me, tends to help shift it a bit. So it's kind of like, oh, I'm aware. So that would be a great time to journal, or to book a session with your coach, or to speak to somebody about it. Somebody who gets it, people. Don't talk to a friend or a loved one, because if they're not in the arena, if they're not doing the thing, they don't get it. That they will be the ones who are like, what do you mean? This is what you've been working so hard for. Just get over yourself. It's fine. That's not the kind of advice that is very helpful in those situations. To speak to somebody who gets it, and then move. I love how you said dance, walk, swim, sing, something. I think, there's something about movement that does really help calm the nervous system. And I think it's because if fight and flight's activated, which it is when you're panicking about these things, in days of old, if you were being chased by a saber-toothed tiger, you're not going to pause to do a dance number. So you're like letting your nervous system know it's actually okay. Like, I feel these things and I can transmute them, because the body doesn't understand the difference. It's like, where's all the danger? And I think that's why it works so well.
Yeah. I would also say, if you're going to talk to somebody, choose somebody who's not going to commiserate. Somebody who isn't going to confirm what you're already feeling, which is that you can't rise above this level. Somebody who's like, oh yeah, man, I've never been able to either, isn't going to be helpful. It's going to.
You don't want somebody who's going to get in the pool with you. That's kind of like you can both the drowning and the drowning, just grasping and splashing. You want somebody who has like pure lifeguard energy. So a lifeguard stands on the side, offers the life ring. We call them a buoy. I think you guys call them a buoy. I always laugh when I hear that. But they are calm. They're on the side, or they're in the boat, and they're offering assistance. They're not jumping in, splashing, and being taken down with you. And I think that is such a great piece of advice. So a lot of people who hesitate to hire a coach because they're like, well, it is an investment. Like, I'd say an expense, not an investment, not expense, because what you get back. But to have the coach go, yeah, of course, this is totally normal, and have that pure lifeguard energy alone is worth so much more than someone's going, oh yeah, no, cue panic. And they get in the water with you, and then they come up with even bigger sharks that you haven't even thought of, and the whole situation spirals downward very quickly.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And also, I think the larger picture too is important to point out, which is that what we're really working with is our identity around money. We have a financial identity around money, and that's where that thermostat comes from. It's part of that identity. And so you want to grow that. And so therefore you want to pick somebody who's like a coach, for example, who's all about growth.
Yeah. And also, I love how you said that identity, because most of us would, like they say, you're the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with, or you're the average of the 5 nervous systems you hang around with the most. Yes. So likely your friends and family will have a similar thermostat conditioning point to you, because like attracts like. And as you're trying to shift, and I think that's another thing too, I don't like the term up level, like you're not leaving people behind, but you're shifting an identity to a newer identity, having people who are either also shifting or who can hold the space for that, is really, really powerful.
Right. That's why a mastermind is so, like, you and I met in a mastermind.
We certainly did. So speaking of
that's-
which, Laura, how can people find you? Where can people find you? What have you got on offer? Shameless plug time. Take it away.
Okay. I am offering a mastermind that's starting in a couple of weeks. It's called Ascend. It will have
Ooh,
12
I like
women.
that. Ascend and smash through the glass ceilings. What
Exactly.
comes to mind?
That's what it is. Exactly. It will have 12 women or non-binary people in it. What else do I want to say? And I also, if anyone's interested in a freebie, I have a series of letters, questions people have asked me. It's my own little advice column that you could sign up for to get them. And it's at dearlaura.net/letters with an S on the end.
Awesome. And if people can't find that, where are you on the socials?
I'm on LinkedIn and I'm on Facebook.
Sweet. So if you look up Laura Gates Lupton and your surname has a little hyphen or a dash. See, this is the thing, when you speak with people around the world, we call them different things. Yes, so Laura, traditional spelling, Gates, Gates, dash or hyphen, Lupton, Lupton. Check her out. Look up the mastermind, Ascend. I'm loving it. Thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you, Suzanne.
Bye for now.